Welcome to the March to a Million podcast with Greg DuPont, founder of the Wealth Solutions Network. In this podcast, Greg shares his journey to positively impact 1 million lives by creating an army of financially minded attorneys who embrace an expanded role in their clients' lives. Greg and his guests challenge the status quo in the legal profession and the financial services industry and show attorneys how they can improve their lives, provide greater value to their clients, and experience greater professional satisfaction. Join us in this movement and strengthen your business by learning how to solve your clients' most pressing financial problems.
Hello and welcome to another March to a Million podcast with your host, Greg DuPont. Today, Viva la Revolution! We are going to talk about the revolution in three different categories. One, the political revolution, the AI revolution, and the financial revolution. And of course, how WSN can help you with any of those. So Greg, where do we begin, my friend?
You know, it occurred to me the other day when I was kind of reflecting, meditating, all the kind of fun stuff that I do, that history is going to look back at this as a period of revolution. It's just manifesting itself so much differently than anybody would have ever thought. You know, it's not rioting in the streets, it's not muskets and things like that, but this is truly a revolutionary period that we're living through in those areas that you mentioned in the highlights. You know, from the politics to the finances to the technology, all this stuff. So much change is going on that people just don't understand it, and you know the dissonance that's coming from that. And so we're gonna dive into a little bit about that, and you know where this gets us, and where our mission, the March to Million, is protecting families from this. And by the way, the members of WSN who follow the process that we have are going to help themselves and survive through this as well. So that's what we're going to talk about today, Matt.
Right. So we'll figure out where we're going to begin in just a minute, but I just want to reflect on what you just said there. Because during times of uncertainty or revolution or uprising, one of the things that can happen is people's things that they've worked really hard for aren't as protected as those people would like them to be, which really is what you do. I just wanted to summarize what you just said there for the listeners, because that is just such a wonderful explanation of what WSN is built for, how it works, who it works for, and how you can use it from a marketing perspective. All right, so we have three revolutions. Yeah, I'm letting you choose, brother. Which one do you want to start with?
Well, let's start with the political revolution. You know, and we don't know where this takes us, and I'm not making a positive or negative statement, or at least you know my inclinations on it. But you know, there's a lot of change happening, and I was reflecting that what at a core, when we're talking about what's going on with Doge and the government with Trump's mandates, that is clearly revolutionary what they're trying to do by ripping out all of this government's infrastructure. And if you go back just 3 years, it wouldn't be possible. But now when you think about what's coming on with AI and all those things, do we need all of the government bureaucracy that we needed for all of these years to support the system? And that shift just itself, I'll let you bring in and egg me on a little bit, but that shift that's driven on by technology, you know, it's incredibly harmful to those that are involved, the life employees. We're not going to worry about the fraud and all that stuff that's out there, because you know that's another story for another day. But the idea that government, because of technology, can be run much more efficiently than it ever has, then it has this trickle down effect of, okay, we don't need as much money to run the government. We can get our budget in line, and we might be able to actually save people from this increase in taxes that's inevitable, if not. And so, you know, when we think about it from that level, we really have the revolutionaries are the people in charge right now of the executive branch. What going to come of this, and we see the fights with the judiciary branch, let alone the legislative branch coming alongside with them. We don't know how this is going to end up, but we do know that there are two remarkably different paths that come out of this revolution.
Okay, so it's interesting because I didn't think that you would, with that last statement there, that you'd make this as binary as you just made it. There are a lot of people out there who truly understand and who agree that technology can really make the government more efficient. Absolutely. I don't think there are many people who would actually argue that. That's a commonly held statement that people agree with. But when you're trying to turn the largest thing in the world around, it is truly irresponsible to do it in a way that is going to really damage things in the short term. They could have absolutely implemented technology over the next 4 years, and we would be better for it. It's this Band-Aid approach or this massive disruption approach. Well, first off, the American people generally don't like it. And secondly, is that really the right way to do it?
I'm not saying yes or no. Okay. I'm just, that is where we are at. And, from executive action to reality is a completely different story. Okay. But the binary choice is continued growth and expansion of the government or contraction. Somewhere between. I mean, the path that we were on is incredibly different than the path that they're trying to put us on. And the shock to the system, which is why I'm calling it revolutionary. Because if you would follow the path that you believe that is more of the shall we say, the more of the common view of it. Okay, you got the polar ends, and the more common people say, "Hey, I like what they're trying to do, but what the hell? Why are we doing it so quickly? Why do we have to be so disruptive about it?" But it's that disruptive act, which is shaking the foundation of the marketplace and all this stuff, that is waking it up. Now, whether or not they are able to gain consensus to do this, that's why I frame this as a revolution. Because instead of people out there shooting at each other back in the Civil War days, they're terror bombing and blah 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 blah. That's how the other side is responding to this, and then we just have a different way of fighting now, right? And and the real interesting, going back to the technology stuff, the real interesting part of all this, and this is why I believe this is revolution that they'll look back at, is because now, because of technology, because of AI, and the ability to sift through massive amounts of data so quickly, we're now able to do things and identify things, and the genie's out of the bottle for those things that are fraudulent. And regardless of how much any side wants to yell about it, that's never, and I say thankfully, that's never going to go back in the bottle. So this is a turning point in our nation's history from the way that the government and its people are, shall we say, communicating.
Yeah. Well, you and I aren't spring chickens here, brother. I've never seen anything like this at all. And it really, truly, by definition, we probably should have defined what revolution meant actually at the top of this. But I think that's a really good example of how you're using the word revolution here, because it is a revolutionary technique, which really does lead us. And I don't know if you want to stay there, but you just opened the next door. So I'd like to open the next door, which really is AI. And this idea that we can utilize, and I like just calling it the big brain, right? Because it's really what it is, dude. We all now, you and I, have access to the largest brain that has ever existed. And I, like you, because I know we're both, experimenting with it, I talk to mine every day, right? I mean, I have deep philosophical conversations and am generally surprised at what she comes up with. the level of efficiency and how quick things can get done, right, is shocking. But when it comes to what AI can do in the world of business for WSN members, I just want to make sure that you and I have already talked about this before, but that the human component of this is still so unbelievably necessary, because that connection, that understanding, AI still hasn't gotten. But all the other rigmarole stuff, dude, you push a button and man, that stuff can pop out, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that we've been developing for WSN. And so, we got off on my rant about the politics, and now we're going to tie it back into where we're going. So thank you for pulling me back in on that, because that could be a wormhole that, anywho. So yeah, so the flip side, and again, revolutionary times. So we got the political revolution going on. Well, that comes out and is driven, as we were just talking about, it's driven by the technological revolution. And technology has always been a big part of revolutions, right? And what technology is doing now, if we think about, if you use the revolution in the fourth turning mode of talk, and we talked about that book, and it says that the fourth turning is here, and it certainly looks like it is. And so if you look at some of the other revolutions that came from turnings, let's talk about like the change from the agrarian to the industrial, right? That caused upheaval and revolution, leading to the New Deal. And then we had the Reagan Revolution. It didn't go directly to there, but that's the last one, which brought us the tax structure that we're in now, brought us the 401k era, which right now, the mission of WSN is to preserve the bounty of that 401k era. And so how do we do this, right? How do we work ourselves into a position with WSN in the face of yet another revolution, which is the change in the labor force and the increase of the use of technology. Mm-hmm. And so my team and I have been pondering that for the impact for our March to Million, because I don't know about you, man, but I have learned in my house, meaning my office, that with more individuals, humans, there are more and more problems. Mm-hmm. Management problems, personality problems, and compliance problems, all of that. And most of our members of WSN are small shops.
Yeah.
And I myself, I'm at varying levels of shop. So how do we pull this off? And so technology is one way. So my team and I have been working on building Virtual Greg. Mm-hmm. I'd like to share him with you.
Good morning, Mr. DuPont. I am your AI clone, and over the weekend, Stephen made some finishing touches to the book, and we're landing at around 114 pages. He has also entered the final completion stages of the Retirement Tax Trap quiz. The results videos for each stage are ready, featuring your AI clone, which I might add is one dashing young fellow. I am your AI clone, wait a minute. Maybe you're the clone. And I'm the real Greg DuPont. Anyway, let's not get caught up in the weeds on this right now, because we can figure that out later. How do the best clients prepare for the meeting? What materials do they receive? Emails, downloads, required documents. What common objections arise and how are they addressed? Is there a survey or questionnaire to distinguish high-value versus low-value clients? What key questions should be included in that survey? These insights will help us refine the process, set clear expectations, and improve show-up rates while reducing no-shows. Let me know when you're available to discuss, or if it's more convenient, feel free to reply with a video or share your thoughts directly in this email about not only your clone, but on the answers to the questions in the email. Thank you, and looking forward to your thoughts and the ongoing evolution of Operation Benevolent Dictator. Ha ha ha.
So I hope you like meeting Virtual Greg. It's still a little bit jerky, not completely my personality, but that was done with just a little bit of my video content, and it was done with loading a script in, and they generated that. And then there are also other capabilities. And I'd like to share with you the power of Virtual Greg and the ability to communicate outside of my native language.
Good morning. Let's have an amazing week. And while I have your attention, I briefly would like to share with you that I speak multiple languages. In addition to legalese and, of course, English, I also speak Japanese. Spanish. French. I even speak a little Russian as well. As you can tell, I'm a little rusty in speaking the various languages, but what this means is we could share the message about our movement in multiple languages. Let's have a great week.
So I don't know about you, Matt, but I did take 2 different languages when I was in high school, German and Spanish, and I don't remember a lick of it. That's the Virtual Greg. I think I might be more approachable than he is.
Well, I agree. I mean, there's this is a work in progress, but the simple fact, and I mean, the first one, to be honest, was just a little bit creepy because I know you so well, right? And the gesturing was just a little off, but your voice was there, which was really cool. But the second video, oh my gosh, dude, what this opens the door for WSN members to be able to do, to have almost real-time, real communication with people who don't speak English as their primary language, I believe is a game changer.
Yeah, and what we're building with this, so this is the technology that we're putting in place to be able to leverage for the select few WSN members that are part of our premium team that we're going to be recruiting later this year. And that is, we're going to be building out a complete lead flow system with different type of direct response marketing tools that we just have them record a few things. The next thing we know, we have hundreds of live marketing pieces that are interactive for the client, all driven through I'm not sure if I've used this phrase with you yet, but again, my marketing team and I have been working a lot for the last few weeks on this thing, pulling these things together. And one of the things that we've been working on is a book that's coming out here real soon, as it's referenced in the video, and building things around what we're calling the 4-dimensional estate plan. The 4D estate plan, you call it 4-dimensional, or more appropriately and accurately for what we do at WSN, the 4-discipline and estate plan, putting together law, tax, finance, etc. So we're building that out. That's been real cool. And so when we kind of get back to Revolution, between now and September 30, 2030, I got 500,000 people I need to get in front of.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, so you opened a little can of worms, and I don't want to dive into the worms too deeply because we've got some other stuff to chat about here, but the level of efficiency and all of the stuff that you're building for WSN members and that you're practicing and doing in your both firms, right? For the overall efficiency, doesn't that mean that attorneys are going to have to change how they bill and how they charge and how they do things? Because isn't AI going to be able to manage a lot of the kind of day-to-day for your members?
AI is going to crush the plain legal hourly model. Okay. And just personal case point, I have not litigated in years. I have a business client of mine that has a dispute that I recognize the fact pattern, and I knew what needed to be done. Back in the day, I would have spent hours and hours and hours and hours developing a complaint. Now, I went to my friend ChatGPT and worked with him for an hour and developed the structure that I could throw the particular facts in. So instead of spending dozens of hours developing this complaint, I did it in an hour and a half, 2 hours, what have you. Actually, it's a little bit more than that, but that's not a story. But the actual drafting time was very, very small of that. Similarly, I was like, okay, I need to put together an employment contract and an employee handbook for the office. Back in the day, I would have, whatever. Here, boom, it's done before I'm done brushing my teeth. And if you're living on a billable hour, you're dead. So yeah, it's going back to our revolution. So not only are we going to have government workers out on the streets, we're going to have white collar. This is the transition from the Industrial Revolution we went to the information based economy. Now we're moving into something different. And there are going to be lots of people hurting. So this is where WSN members, you need to be thinking not only of yourself. If you've got an oldie-timey kind of practice, you are not going to be practicing law in 4 or 5 years. Go ahead and start retirement planning. If you're open to new ways of doing things and you recognize the essence of what you have been doing is, I want to help people and I want to connect with people. And when we think about this revolution, when we think about people that are early on in their careers, how can we help them? Well, we can help them by, waking them up a little bit, getting them to understand that there is this change coming, and how to deal with it, and how to prepare for it. And most importantly for them, in my opinion, is a realization that their life is going to be so much vastly different, and long. So we need to maybe not focus on throwing our money into our 401ks for retirement, but rather have it accessible in a way that helps the family through this change. And we're talking about people in their mid-career. What do we do? It's a similar conversation, just a little bit of a different duration. They might even have some assets already. How do we protect those? Our mission is preserve and protect assets. Pre-retirees, these people are the ones that are at the greatest risk. Matt, as you and I around the business know, the impact of retiring in a declining market as opposed to a going market. It's catastrophic.
Yeah.
And then a retiree, was their plan built around in a way that is resilient enough to withstand these changes? And this is where, our pillar process helps the WSN attorney understand these problems a little bit more and ask some questions, build that genuine connection with people that they're not getting from AI. Even though we may be using AI as one of the modes to attract people into our office, to leverage technology so that we can do more, we can impact more. But at the end of the day, it's that connection. It's asking those probing questions. It's being a coach, being genuinely interested in the outcomes and helping them be protected from what could come. We don't know which way this revolution ends. We just know there's uncertainty and fear. And what we can be is messengers to try to decrease some of that fear and decrease some of that uncertainty.
Right there, being able to utilize what you just said in your communication, in your social media posts, in your client communication, in your prospecting communication, you are being wonderfully apolitical. This is just the reality of the world that we live in. Are you nervous? Are you concerned? If so, you should probably talk to me as a WSN member, right? Because you guys have everything set up, the systems in place, the ideas behind it, the proven solutions that you guys have built over time to truly help protect 1 million people and their legacy, right?
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. All right. How do we, here, I'm going to put you really hardcore. How do you bring all this home, brother?
Well, we've been talking about mind shifts throughout our whole conversation since we started, months ago with our chats here, and that is the first place for the WSN member to recognize that they need to deal with what change is bringing them, try to get through their own dissonance, and build their mindset around how do I help and save more people, and have a genuine. Many attorneys go to law school because they have that altruistic spirit. They want to do that. The waters of the profession push them one way or the other, and they end up in some destination. And that destination right now, most likely, is going over a cliff. So how do we figure it out? How do we pursue this mission to help people in a fashion that does not add a whole lot more work to my table? We'll talk in a couple of weeks about the changes I've made in my law office.
Yeah.
But this is using technology to serve you as the attorney and to help you serve more people better. And to tie it all together, if you want to talk to me, just go to www.joinwsn.com, book a little time on my calendar, and let's talk.
Yeah. This is a revolution. Not just what WSN is doing, which is revolutionary. We are in a time of absolute uncertainty. No matter which side of the aisle you're on, no matter where you land politically, spiritually, physically, psychologically, this is a time of uncertainty. And in times of uncertainty, you can do one of two things. You can do what some people do, is they stick their head in the sand and they're just waiting for it to go over, or you can go ahead and pull your head out of the sand and look around and see that this could quite possibly be the biggest opportunity that is going to be within your career to truly help people live the life that they want and really set the legacy that they need to. So go to www.joinwsn.com, or actually you can also reach out on Greg to Greg on LinkedIn, because he's actually there. And so check him out on LinkedIn, and just make sure that you're staying tuned to what's going on here. And of course, if you know another attorney who should listen to this, please make sure that you just go ahead and click that share button. So for Greg, this is Matt, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Thank you for listening to the March to a Million podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and get in touch with our team by visiting our website at www.wealthsolutionsgroup.biz, or give us a call at 614-432-8065. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Wealth Solutions Network. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice from qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have.